So you're thinking about moving to Bend, Oregon, but you're just not quite sure where in Bend or Central Oregon could be the best fit for you? Well, in today's video, we're going to be going into the Google Earth tool to give you a better understanding of the Bend area, the Central Oregon region, and its surrounding landscape to help you gain a better grasp on what we're dealing with when it comes to the Bend, Oregon lifestyle. So if this video sounds like it's for you, then stick around because we're going to be getting after this Google Earth tour right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good and the bad of living in Bend and Central Oregon, then subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market in Bend, Oregon. My name's Ryan and I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. My business partner, Zach, and I, we get calls and texts every day from people just like you looking for help on making their move to Bend or anywhere else in Central Oregon. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even set up a Zoom meeting. We'd be happy to help you make that smooth move to Bend or anywhere else in Central Oregon. So like I said in the intro, we're actually going to be using the Google Earth tool today to give you a tour and a better understanding of what's going on in the Central Oregon region to help explain why so many people are actually flocking to this area. Google Map has an absolutely stunning tool. It'll give you some perspective as to what part of town might be a good fit for you, what part of Central Oregon might be a better fit for you. And so that's our goal with today's video. We're just going to be using the tool and explaining things from a 3D perspective, as well as the Google Earth vantage point. So let's just share the screen and get after this tour right now. As you can see here, we've got Google Earth up right now. We've done a map video before, a couple of times over actually, but what we want to do today is give you more of a lifestyle or live perspective from a satellite view of what the Central Oregon and Bend, Oregon region are really all about. So from this vantage point, we obviously have the Pacific Northwest. We've got Seattle up here and we have Portland down here. This line right here is the I-5 corridor. So the majority of the population in the Pacific Northwest runs along this I-5 corridor here. It goes from the border of Washington and Canada all the way through Oregon. You can see it goes through Portland, Salem, Eugene, down through Medford, and then it carries on into California. Eventually goes all the way to San Diego and Tijuana and continues on as the Mexican highway that goes all the way into Baja. But we're talking about Bend, Oregon today. This is the vantage point. Bend right here, obviously, is this little red dot. That's the center of the state, and that's where we're going to be focused on today. So if we look at this vantage point here, we're looking at Bend now from a Google Earth perspective. We're looking from the east to the west. And so these mountain ranges here, this is the Cascade Mountains. These mountains are the peaks. And so this is what separates the Willamette Valley lifestyle and the climate from the east side, the high desert land, the high desert side of Oregon. And that's really the barrier that creates two different distinctive climates. And so what you have here are peaks, right? Bachelor's just over 9,000 feet. We've got South Sister a little over 10. Then we've got the north in the middle. Those two are going to be just a little bit over 10,000 feet as well. And there's additional peaks that carry on to the north out of the frame here that we'll look at here in a moment. But what we want to do is just give you this perspective right here. These mountains, the base layer of these mountains is about 5,000 feet to maybe 6,000 feet. And so that's kind of the range. If you're going over the mountains to the valley, whether it's Eugene or Corvallis or Salem or Portland, you're going to have to traverse these mountains. And so in the wintertime, sometimes it can be a little dicey with the weather. There's definitely snow that accumulates over the course of the winter. And so it just remains. There's a snowpack there, and so that is the mountain range that needs to be traversed to get over to the other areas of the state where the majority of the people live. But this kind of puts Bend on an island, so to speak. We're kind of isolated. We do have an airport that goes to all kinds of hubs in the area. Seattle and San Francisco are the primary hubs, as well as Salt Lake City in Southern California, cities like LA and San Diego. But ideally, if you're driving from point A to point B out of this area, it's going to be a couple-hour drive because we are a little bit isolated, we are secluded, and so these mountains are kind of the barrier that sets that tone. But if we look at Bend here now from a perspective of looking to the east, or looking from the east to the west, you get a feel for what Bend is all about. We've got Butte State Park. It's right here in the middle. You can hike that. It takes about 15 to maybe 20 minutes if you're jogging, maybe 25 to 30 minutes if you're hiking it up. It's about a 500-foot rise from its bottom to its top, but it gives you a real perspective of the Bend and surrounding area. We've done a video on that before. We can link that here in the notes. But what we want to show you here is what Bend is really all about. So this is Bend from the Google Earth perspective looking to the west. And so this is Highway 20 right here. It comes in, this is out in the Oregon Badlands. Okay, if we scroll down here, what you're gonna see is a lot of desert terrain. We've talked about that before. We are just right on the cusp of these mountains. And so if we were to scroll down and get a better idea as to what Bend really is, we can get a feel for what Bend looks like. This is the Deschutes River here. It comes in from the mountains, okay? It winds down from the mountains and then it comes right through the city of Bend. River Bend Park is right here. This is a very popular floating area. This is where the mills used to be. Bend was a mill town originally. That's what really had people settled in this area, was either ranching or it's the trees that were floated from the mountains here. A lot of ponderosa trees up here. They were cut, they were floated down the Deschutes River, and eventually they wound up right here in this area called the Mill area. It's now called the Old Mill District, but this is where the mills were located that did production. That was the origin of what Bend did back in the early days of this town before it settled and before it became incorporated. It was a mill town. That was the production, that was the industry. And since then, it's become a very, very popular area for tourists, shopping, restaurants, all kinds of parks down in the area. There's great areas for floating the river. There's thousands of people that will float this river in the summertime. A lot of people that will kayak and they'll stand up paddleboard, etc. But it goes right through the heart of Bend, right? And so that's kind of the lifeblood of this town, is the Deschutes River. That's what really drew people to this area. And so the Deschutes River goes right through town. There's houses that are up on both sides of the river for miles upon miles that go right through town. And that gives you a real perspective of why people settled at the foothills of these mountains in the early days, was because of the river and its proximity to the mountains, great weather on a regular basis. But this gives you a feel for what the origin of Bend was. And so if we look a little bit further to I'm scrolling now to the right, which is to the north, we get a feel for Pilot Butte here right in the middle. Downtown area is going to be up in this area here. If we scroll down here, we get a feel for the downtown area here. Very up and coming, very popular, very metropolitan-esque. A lot of great shops, a lot of great restaurants, very walker friendly. The nightlife is getting progressively better and better, but ideally there's just a ton of people that like to recreate down there and utilize the amenities that Bend has created over the course of time. And so Bend's population now is roughly 100,000 people. And that means that we've had a lot of people that have moved in over the last 20, 30 years and even beyond that. But ideally, what gives Bend its culture today are those people that have moved here from somewhere else, and they brought their ideas and their perspectives and all these business concepts too, and they've added them here. And that's kind of made Bend the town that it is today. It's very popular. There's going to be some people that kind of have a bitter feeling towards it because they've been here for a long time, where they appreciate Bend in the early days when it was more of a blue collar town that was just known for its mill activity or its rancher activity. And that's not so much the case anymore, as Bend has become more of a tourist destination driven by tourism largely over the last 25 to 30 years. But now it's actually even graduated from that. It's certainly still a tourist destination and driven by tourism, but Bend is also now a town where a lot of people have relocated and they brought their business concept here. And so we have a budding tech scene. We've got additional industries that are here, and they weren't necessarily here years and years ago, but now they are, because people have relocated. They've decided that Bend is where they want to be for the long haul, and they love living here because, frankly, it is a fantastic spot to live. And so if we continue moving forward here, this is the north side of town. If we look a little bit closer here, this is Aubrey Butte. You can kind of see the slope there. It's a butte that has over 1,000 homes on it. Very somewhat higher end homes. I mean, the home sizes range between 2,500 all the way up to 6,000 square feet. Most of them are custom builds. There are some subdivisions on the Butte. And so there's a range of homes. The West Hills was more of the original location for homes that ranged up halfway up the Butte all the way up until about 1990, and then after 1990 the rest of the Butte up the slope was developed and homes went in, most of them being custom homes. But again, if you live on Aubrey Butte or near Aubrey Butte, you're going to expect a fantastic view whether you're on the east side or the west side of the Butte. We've got River's Edge Golf Course right here. On the back side here is going to be Aubrey Glen Golf Course. So we've got golf courses galore. They're located all over the town. This is the west side of town over here. This is where Summit High School is. But it gives you a real feel. Again, there's a lot of development happening all over this town, but what you'll notice is that the west side of town was really the area over the last 20 years or so that has gotten a lot of the attention when it came to home development and new commercial development, as Summit High School was planted there in 2001, and then a lot of development followed suit afterwards. What we have now, this is Tethra over here. That's on the west side too. That's on the way up to Mount Bachelor. This is going to be Century Drive. That's about a 20-mile drive up to Mount Bachelor. It'll take you all the way up here, and then it will range right through here, and it will go back over the backside here of Bachelor, in between Broken Top as well as South Cistern. It weaves back, eventually turns south again, but you go through all these Cascade Lakes, all these beautiful different resorts and things you can access in the summertime. People go up there. There's thousands of people that will travel up there on a daily basis, starting usually around Memorial Day, and that will go and remain open all the way until the snow accumulates in the fall to the point where they just close the road. But that will eventually merge with Highway 58 further south, and that will eventually take you to Eugene. It's a secondary route to Eugene. But anyway, back to where we're at here. We're looking now down towards the south side of town, and as we drag the screen over here, what we're going to see here is the Bend Golf and Country Club. There's also a 9-hole course here called the Old Back Nine. It used to be called Mountain High. That was a up and coming kind of golf resort back in the early 90s. A lot of homes inside that development. There was an 18-hole course, and eventually it shifted down to just a 9-hole course, and it's more of like a municipal style course today. But what we have here on the east side is going to be the new direction where a lot of development will be taking place over the coming years, as we have a new high school in this area. It's called Caldera High School. You can see it right here. Alpenglow Park just went in last summer. And again, this is the Bridges subdivision. Zach just did a video on that a few days ago. That just went live. But we're going to be featuring different neighborhoods, different homes that are for sale, giving you guys a better understanding as to what's going on with the actual housing and the current trends of the market. But what we want to do is give you individual house tours as well as subdivision tours. And so this, the Bridges is one that we just did recently. And Caldera High School is down here. You can see a little bit of farm property, horse property here, a lot of irrigated land. There's going to be the southeast part of town. This is kind of the area that I grew up in. But everywhere surrounding Bend, there's going to be properties with acreage, and there's going to be water rights associated with some. But it gives you a better understanding that you're not too far from the country. If you're in the middle of town, and vice versa. If you're out in the country, you're just a little ways away to get into the heart of Bend. So if we scroll a little bit further in this direction to the west, we can get a better idea as to what Bend really looks like. So if I were to change it from looking from the north. Okay, so we panned out a little bit, and we've got Bend now looking from the east to the west. Now, if we were to scroll out a little bit, what we're going to see here is Oregon to the west, and we're going to see all the towns associated with the Willamette Valley. Okay, we pan out a little bit more. We're going to see the Oregon Badlands down here. That gives you an idea that everything to the east is going to be deserty, not so many people. The majority of the people live on the other side of these mountains where it's green. You can see that. Google Earth gives us a good perspective of just the landscape itself. But like out here, there's not a lot out here. This is all kind of wilderness area, and it gives you a real perspective that Bend's right on that line, right on that cusp of the tree line where the mountains are, and then the other side we get to the valley where the people live, where the majority of the population lives. But you can see San Francisco, you can see Seattle here. This gives you a real idea as to what's going on. If we were to scroll and make it from north to south, what we see here is Bend, and we can get a better understanding of Bend from this vantage point as well. We pan right on in here. We're going to see the city of Bend. We've got Terrebonne up here. This is the Smith Rock State Park area. We just did a video on that as well. And if we were to continue panning closer to town, what we're going to see here, the river runs right through town. We got 97. That's the original north-south byway, and that's now the parkway. But this gives you a firm idea as to what really is going on. This is the downtown area here. This is the old mill district right in here. A lot of development going on right now in this area as older parcels of land that were once associated with the mill are now being developed into more modern use cases for the land there, because it is pretty valuable land. There's so many people that flood right through, that frequent the area. But you can see this is the southeast part or southwest part of Bend here. A lot of houses that have gone in over the last 20 years. And then if we scroll a little bit further up here, what we're going to see is the old mill district here. We've got the footbridge right here. We've got a road crossing right here. And what we also have is the amphitheater. This is the Hayden Homes Amphitheater right here. It's right on the river. And then you've got restaurants, shops, everything right on the other side. A lot of green here for walking, big walking path here. Just really, really dog walker friendly, biker friendly, jogger friendly. It's just a very attractive area for people to be frequenting. And that's that old mill district that's about 25 years old or so. If we look up a little bit further here, this is going to be kind of the box factory area. This is a newer development. It's, 10 years old or so, but this is also where a lot of the mill work was done. A lot of old buildings were there and they stood there for a long time. They've since then, the land's been reacquired. And it's also been redeveloped, and now it's being turned into more touristy type stuff, whether it be restaurants or shops, things of that nature, office space, modernized, if you will. And so beyond that is going to be the downtown area. And so the downtown area is right up here, and it all connects now. And so the downtown area here, we'll travel down here. We've got Old Town Bend. There's a lot of houses here that are a little bit older with a lot of character. And then it turns into that box factory area. And then the road, Industrial Drive, will take us all the way to the Old Mill District. And so this is where the majority of tourists will spend a lot of their time, as well as on the west side of town here. And so we've got the amphitheater. We've got Riverbend Park. We've got, this is the Deschutes Brewery headquarters right in here. But yes, the Hayden Homes Amphitheater, recently renamed Hayden Homes. Before it was Les Schwab Amphitheater, and now it is absolutely a destination for all kinds of artists, whether they are on their retirement tour or whether they are still budding or whether they are superstars. And so there is a long list of performances scheduled for this summer. We had 50 plus last year. I think we're getting 50 more this year. And so it almost feels like every other night, if not every night, there's going to be some sort of performance going on at that amphitheater. It has become a premier destination in the Northwest for outdoor performances. And so it's right there in the heart of Bend, in the Old Mill District. This is the west side of town over here. You can see Aubrey Butte in the background, but it is a butte that has houses on it from a 360-degree vantage point. And so whether you like the sun rising from the east, you can live that way. You can have your house facing to the east, or you can be facing to the south, or you can be facing to the west or the north. You're going to have spectacular sunsets facing basically anywhere. If you're south, southwest, west, northwest, etc. They go over the mountains in the summer, of course, and they're just spectacular. They're unique every single day. If we pan over here a little bit more to the west side, we've got Oregon State University Cascade campus. That is actually relatively new. That thing just developed in the last 5 to 6 years or so. And so those buildings have gone in. Now we have two colleges. We've got the Central Oregon Community College up here at the foot of Aubrey Butte on the west side. We've also got Oregon State University Cascades campus. And so again, Bend is growing from every angle. It's attracting all kinds of people, and it's just not going to stop anytime soon. So this whole video is designed to give you guys as much perspective as possible about the Bend and surrounding area. But what we can see here, more of a west side look of Bend here. This is going to be Broken Top neighborhood. That's about a 25 to 30-year-old development there. It's a great golf course. That big lake there is right where the clubhouse is. And if we scroll over a little bit more, you can see the difference in the golf courses here. This is Tethero. It's more of a link style golf course. And you can see that there is a distinct difference between the way this 18 holes is kept and the way this 18 holes is kept. Over here, a lot of development again. Okay, newer development. This is the Highlands at Broken Top, one of the premier neighborhoods, gated community, 10-acre parcels. and the houses are just behemoths. They're really out of this world. And so there's only, oh gosh, I don't know, 30 or 40 lots in that range, but most of them are currently occupied, and rarely does one go on the market. But again, just a very unique perspective. Again, the river coming down from the mountains here, a lot of whitewater. People love to whitewater raft on the Deschutes River as it comes down from the mountains there. Phil's Trailhead is a world-renowned mountain biking circuit. And these trails, there's hundreds of miles of trails. They go all the way up into the mountains. And so you could probably wear yourself out by just trying to take a trail to the west and get up to Mount Bachelor in a single day. And then we have Century Drive here. This is 7th Mountain Resort, and this is where Widgie Creek Golf Course is. That takes you up to the mountains and into the Cascade Lake Scenic Byway area. If we are to now travel to the north, we are going to see Redmond. Redmond's over here. This is where our airport is. Bend's here. Redmond's over here. You can see the runway here. This is our commercial airport. Again, Bend is about a 15 to 20, maybe 25-minute drive, depending on what part of town you're in, to the airport. Once you get in between Bend and Redmond, it's a pretty straight shot. Usually people are going about 65 to 75 miles an hour on 97, sometimes faster, which isn't a good thing, but that's the reality of the way things are. Smith Rock State Park's up here, Central Oregon. This is north. This is a little bit further north in Deschutes County, but this just gives you a perspective of where we're at in this area from a Google Earth standpoint. Redmond, those are the fairgrounds right here. But Redmond's about 36,000 people. It's basically a miniature version of what Bend used to be. When I moved into town, there was about 30,000 people in Bend. Now there's about 30,000, just a little bit over 30,000 in Redmond. And so you've got 97 that goes right through here, and it's the primary artery of Redmond. And then they've got a actually new and up and coming downtown area where they rerouted 97. It used to go right through downtown, and now it has been rerouted. And so now they're creating their downtown into more of a quaint style, traditional downtown. And Redmond is fantastic as much as Bend is fantastic. Two different distinct personalities, but again, great towns to choose from. And then there's additional towns in the Central Oregon area. Terrebonne's up here. That's at the foothills or the base of Smith Rock here. And then if we go to the west here, we're going to see Sisters, Oregon. If we scroll over a little bit here, this is going to be Sisters here. Cute little town here. It's at kind of the base of the mountains. There's about 2,000 people, maybe give or take, a few more that live in the surrounding area. But Sisters is a absolutely stunning little town as well. And that is very popular right at the base of Black Butte. And you can see here, it's on Highway 20, the mountains, and on the way over to the valley. And so this kind of will wrap up our tour. Sun River is going to be south of Bend, as well as Lapine. But these are the primary towns that are associated with Central Oregon. It's going to be Bend, Redmond, and then a distant third is going to be Sisters in terms of population. But Sisters is a fantastic town. We'll be doing some videos on that here soon. But again, just a true gem, this town here. And it's about 20 miles away from Bend and about 20 miles away from Redmond as well. So that's going to wrap up our Google Earth tour today. So you can see here, mountains, and then on the other side, there's the 5 freeway, and you're going to be able to see Eugene. You're going to be able to see all the towns that are in the valley, because that's the majority of where the population of the state lives. And that hopefully gives you some perspective on what's going on with the Central Oregon area. Again, I appreciate you guys watching this video. We're trying to give you as much value as we possibly can with our video and our content creation. If any of this stuff is providing value, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. We want to give you guys multiple videos per week and ultimately give you as much information as you possibly can take so you can make the best informed decision that's right for you as you make your relocation a reality to Central Oregon. If you guys need to get a hold of us, it starts with you. We'd love to represent you and help you with your real estate needs. It starts with you guys calling us or texting us or emailing us or even setting up a Zoom call. Doesn't matter. We don't care. Whatever works best for you. We want to meet you where you're at and help you guys make that smooth transition to Bend and or anywhere else in Central Oregon. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video today. Again, it's Ryan with eXp Realty, and I want to thank you guys for watching. I will see you around town or perhaps on the next video.